The North Carolina Convention discussed what happens if North Carolina rejects the Constitution and leaves the Union, as well as what the necessary and proper clause meant, and the ways in which the Constitution is like a power of attorney.
Asked if the convention could vote on the Constitution paragraph by paragraph, Johnston said, "If we reject any one part, we reject the whole. We are not to form a constitution, but to say whether we shall adopt a constitution to which 10 states have already acceded. If we think it a bad government, it is not binding to us. We can reject it. If it be proper for our adoption, we may adopt it. But a rejection of a single article will amount to..."
Governor Johnston says voting paragraph by paragraph is improper. But he also points out the relationship between the people thinking this is a bad government and this Constitution not applying to them.
It is impossible for any man in his senses to think that we can exist by ourselves, separated from our sister states. Whatever gentlemen may pretend to say on this point, it must be a matter of serious alarm to every reflecting mind, to be disunited from the other states. The only real security of liberty, in any country, is the jealousy and circumspection of the people themselves. Let them be watchful over their rulers. Should they find a combination against their liberties, and all other methods appear insufficient to preserve them, they have, thank God, an ultimate remedy. That power which created the government can destroy it.
If the federal government violates the Constitution, Iredell does not just anticipate resistance by the people, he's relying on it to keep the federal government in bounds. The people created the federal government, and they may destroy it.
If we had all power before, and give away but a part, we still retain the rest. Congress can have no power but what we expressly give them. There is an express clause which, however disingenuously it has been perverted from its true meaning. This clause specifies that they shall make laws to carry into execution all the powers vested by this Constitution. Consequently, they can make no laws to execute any other power. This clause gives no new power, but declares that those already given are to be executed by proper laws.
McLean points out the obvious question. If Congress can do anything it thinks necessary and proper, then what was the point of listing out federal powers at all? Why not just say, quote, Congress can do anything it feels is necessary and proper, close quote. McLean says that this clause gives no power beyond those specified above the phrase in Article 1, Section 8. You can't separate foregoing powers from necessary and proper without doing violence to language.
Of what use, therefore, can a Bill of Rights be in this Constitution, where the people expressly declare how much power they do give, and consequently retain all they do not? It is a declaration of particular powers by the people to their representatives, for particular purposes. It may be considered as a great power of attorney, under which no power can be exercised but what is expressly given. Did any man ever hear, before, that at the end of a power of attorney, it was said that the attorney should not exercise more power than was there given him?
Iredell here says that the Constitution is like a power of attorney, and that the principal delegates to his attorney some specified portion of his powers.
Suppose, for instance, a man had lands in the counties of Anson and Coswell, and he should give another a power of attorney to sell his lands in Anson. Would the other have any authority to sell the lands in Coswell? Or could he, without absurdity, say, "'Tis true you have not expressly authorized me to sell the lands in Coswell, but as you had lands there, and did not say I should not, I thought I might as well sell those lands as the other." A Bill of Rights, as I conceive, would not only be incongruous, but dangerous.
Iredell explains that if the principal delegates a certain portion of his powers to his attorney, his servant, and his attorney attempts to do something not authorized by the delegation, then the principal would not get into a debate with the attorney over the extent of the attorney's powers. the principal would simply terminate the relationship.
When a legislature is formed for a particular purpose, it cannot have any authority but what is so expressly given to it, any more than a man acting under a power of attorney could depart from the authority it conveyed to him. If I had 3 tracts of land, one in Orange, another in Coswell, and another in Chatham, and I gave a power of attorney to a man to sell the 2 tracts in Orange and Coswell, and he should attempt to sell my land in Chatham, would any man of common sense suppose he had authority to do so? In like manner, I say, the future Congress can have no right to exercise any power but what is contained in that paper. This proposal is made to the people. No man will deny their authority to delegate powers and recall them, in all free countries.
McLean assures the skeptics that the power that created an authority can also recall it. So if in creating this system they find out the system doesn't work, then the people can recall their delegated powers and build a new one.
Abuse may happen in any government. The only resource against usurpation is the inherent right of the people to prevent its exercise. This is the case in all free governments in the world. The people will resist if the government usurp powers not delegated to it.
Iredell argues that if the federal government violates the Constitution and usurps powers not given to it, then Iredell predicts that the people will resist.
If we do not decide upon the Constitution, we shall have nothing to report to Congress. We shall be entirely out of the Union and stand by ourselves.
Even though the Articles of Confederation contained a provision that declared the Union was perpetual, Samuel Johnston is urging ratification of the Constitution because if North Carolina rejected it, they would be out of the Union and stand by themselves. Independence and de facto secession is not unconstitutional, it's just not advisable.
In America, our governments have been clearly created by the people themselves. The same authority that created can destroy. And the people may undoubtedly change the government, not because it is ill-exercised, but because they conceive another form will be more conducive to their welfare. When the principles of a constitution are violated, the constitution itself is dissolved, or may be dissolved at the pleasure of the parties to it.
If the people believe the government is not meeting the ends for which it was created, they can adopt a new government, which they feel is conducive to their welfare. Further, Iredell proposes that when the Constitution is violated, the parties to it may dissolve it at will. The ratification of North Carolina meant that 12 states had ratified the Constitution. The North Carolina vote to neither ratify nor reject was 184 to 84. Advocates had assured skeptics that the Constitution was safe to ratify. They also debunked the false interpretation of the necessary and proper clause. And finally, advocates talked about North Carolina being out of the Union if she didn't adopt the Constitution.